All right, today we're going to teach you how to complete the square. All right, so in this video we're going to give you an easy, a medium, and a hard problem, but all these problems are a little bit challenging. So this one's just a little bit easier, this one's just a little bit harder. All right, so there's timestamps in the video player down below. You can skip to whichever problem you want, but otherwise let's get into it. All right, problem number 1 says x squared plus 6x minus 7 equals 0. So we cannot factor these types of problems. That's when we have to use completing the square in order to solve for x here. All right, so the first step when we're completing the square is we need to move this constant term over. That's the term without any x's. All right, so if I move that to the other side, I'm going to have x squared plus 6x. I like to leave a little blank here, okay? And then equals, if I add 7 on both sides, this will be a positive 7. Okay, now sometimes that'll already be moved over for you. Sometimes there'll be numbers on both sides. You have to add or subtract those together. In this case, since there was a 0, I can just move the 7 by adding it, all right? The next step we need to do is look at our b term. Remember, this was a, b, and c. Our b term is going to be 6. I like to do this kind of work off to the side. We're going to take that b term, divide it by 2, and then square. This is kind of where the magic happens in completing the square, all right? So divide it by 2 and then square it. So our b term is 6. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared, let's see, I'll write this out here. 3 squared equals 9, all right? 3 squared equals 9. What we're going to do is we're going to add that in this space right here. And this will always be a positive number since we're squaring it. And then I also have to add it to the other side. Remember your basic Algebra 1 principles. If you do it to one side, you got to do it to the other side, okay? All right, now the whole reason we did that is because this right here is a perfect square. It can be written as a binomial squared. In other words, I'm going to have two terms inside of a set of parentheses, and I'm going to square them, okay? And the way we can figure this out is that we're going to take this x, and since it's x squared, I can just write one x in there. And then the term that I added in, remember this was like 3 squared? So if I replace this with 3 squared, it's that number before you square it, since we're squaring it here, that we're going to place in that second spot in our binomial. Okay, and it was also a positive, so we're going to put a positive. And this sign right here kind of all comes from whatever sign's in front of that original b term. Okay, so we have x plus 3 quantity squared. Let's add together the other side. That equals 16. And then the whole reason that this works is because now I can take the square root of both sides. Okay, so the square root and the square are going to cancel on the left side, leaving me with just x plus 3. And on the right side, what's going to be happening there if I take the square root of 16? It's not just 4, it's actually plus or minus 4. Remember that? Take the square root of something, you have a plus or minus. So plus or minus 4. And then we can solve this as two separate problems. Either x plus 3 equals positive 4, or x plus 3 equals, or I should say, and x plus 3 equals negative 4. If I solve real quick by subtracting 3 on both of these, x equals 1 over here, and x equals negative 7 on this side. All right, problem number 2, we're going to ramp up the difficulty just a little bit. This says x squared plus 8x equals negative 1. You'll notice my constant term is already over on the right side, so all I have to do is take half of my b term and square it. Let's see if we can maybe do that in our head. What's half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So I'm going to add in 16 right there, and since I did it to the left side, I also have to do it to the right side, okay? So now I'm going to just rewrite this real quick. X squared plus 8x plus 16 equals, and on this side I can say this is 15. Okay, again, the reason we did this is because I can write this as a binomial squared. And again, the way I write that is I'm going to take my x, since it's x squared, and then again, this 16 came from taking 4 and squaring it. So I'm going to put a 4 here. And then again, the sign in front of my b term is positive, so I can kind of pop that positive down in right there. All right, this still all equals 15. Take the square root of both sides, since that's why we did this. The square root and the square are going to cancel. X plus 4 on the left side equals the square root on the right side. Actually, I need plus or minus the square root of 15. Okay? All right, and then the last step here to solve for x, we have to subtract 4 on both sides. And this gives me x equals, and then normally the way teachers like to write this is the kind of number term first, negative 4, and then you leave this as plus or minus the square root of 15. In our last problem, we were able to kind of split in two problems because we had a whole number on the right side. Whenever you are left with a radical, you want to leave that as plus or minus that radical, and you might have something in front of it. All right, last one in this video is number 3. Again, this is gonna be our hardest one that we do. This says x squared plus 6x plus 13 equals 0. All right, so again, my first step, I need to move this 13 over, in this case by subtracting it. So I get x squared plus 6x, again, I'm gonna leave a little space here, equals negative 13, all right? To find the number that goes in this space, again, we take our b term, in this case 6, divided by 2, and square it, all right? So that gives me, let's see, 3 squared is 9. So we'll say plus 9. Again, if I do it to the left side, I have to do it to the right side. Plus 9 plus 9, all right? On the left side, what this gives me is x plus, and then 9, the square root of 9 is 3. So it's going to be the binomial x plus 3 squared. On the right side, negative 13 plus 9 is negative 4. All right, so this negative might pose some problems here in a little bit. Let's see if it does, okay? Take the square root of both sides because that's why we did this, so that the left side can cancel, and we're left with x plus 3. And then on the right side, yeah, there's going to be some problems here, right? The square root of positive 4 is 2, but the square root of negative 4 is actually going to be 2i. You got to take out an I with this negative. Okay, so we can say maybe 2i over here. Oops, I forgot my plus or minus. Plus or minus. Whenever you take the square root, you need a plus or minus of that number. Okay, last step here was we need to solve for x by subtracting 3. Subtracting 3, and again, this 3 kind of goes out front usually, so this is going to be x equals negative 3, and then plus or minus the 2i comes after that. All right, so that is how you do completing the square. Hey guys, if this video on completing the square helped you out, you might find this video helpful as well, okay? Also, please help me out by liking this video down below and also subscribing to my channel. If you don't know, I'm the math professor, Kyle Martin. This is a channel where we do your math homework fast and accurately. So if that sounds good to you, please subscribe down below so I can make more videos for you in the future.